Picture this. You climb aboard a ship that's been drifting silently in the middle of the Strait of Malacca. No distress flares, no fire, no visible damage. From the outside, a perfectly normal cargo vessel. But the moment you step onto the deck, you freeze. Dozens of men scattered across the floor. The captain at the wheel. Officers in the chart room. The radio operator still at his post. All of them dead. No signs of struggle. No wounds. No blood. Every single one of them frozen in place, with expressions of absolute terror on their faces. And then, before anyone can figure out what happened, the ship explodes and sinks, taking every secret with it. This is the story of the SS Ourang Medan, a ship that should not exist, a mystery that has never been solved. Their eyes wide open, mouths agape, arms outstretched, as if pushing something away. Whatever they saw in their final moments, it was something no human mind was meant to witness. I'm going to take you back to 1947, to a ship with no registration, no history, and no survivors. And I'm going to show you exactly why this case keeps investigators up at night. 70 years later, the Strait of Malacca, a narrow passage of water between the Malay Peninsula and the island of Sumatra. In 1947, it was one of the busiest and most dangerous shipping lanes in the world. Pirates, storms, unregistered vessels. Ships that moved through these waters often carried cargo that never appeared in any official manifest. Nobody asked questions. Nobody kept records. It was into this world of shadow trade and willful blindness that the Ourang Medan appeared. A vessel with no confirmed origin, no port of registration, and a crew that nobody, anywhere, could account for. The ship itself was a Dutch cargo freighter, mid-sized, unremarkable. The kind of vessel that passed through these waters 100 times a year without anyone giving it a second glance. What was it carrying? That's where things get complicated. The official story, if there even is one, mentions general cargo, but other accounts suggest something far more dangerous was in that hold. February 1947. Somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, 2 American ships, the Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, pick up a distress signal. What they hear stops them cold. SOS. 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 All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and on the bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. Then, a pause. And then, in Morse code, 2 final words. I die. And then, silence. The Silver Star immediately changed course. Radio operators tried to raise the Ourang Medan again. Nothing. Just static. They pushed through the strait at full speed and found her drifting, exactly where the signal said she would be. No engine noise, no movement on deck, no response to horn signals. The ship was completely, utterly still, like a ghost vessel, like something that had already left the world of the living. The boarding party from the Silver Star prepared themselves. They had no idea what they were about to find. Nobody could have been prepared for what was waiting on that deck. They pulled alongside in lifeboats. The ship was silent. No movement. No smell of smoke. No indication of any emergency from the outside. They threw up the boarding lines and climbed aboard. The deck was covered in bodies, dozens of them, scattered in every direction, as if they had simply fallen where they stood. The Silver Star sailors stood frozen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The captain was at the helm, slumped over the wheel, eyes wide open, staring at nothing. His face locked in an expression that one survivor described as sheer, absolute horror. In the chart room, 4 officers. Same story. Eyes open, faces contorted, arms raised as if in defense against something invisible. The navigational charts were still spread on the table. A coffee cup, half full, sat on the edge, undisturbed. And then they found him, the radio operator, still seated at his station, headphones on, fingers resting on the telegraph key, his eyes open, his face the same expression of absolute terror. He was the one who sent the message. He was the one who typed, "I die." And he did. Below deck, more bodies. In the engine room, in the corridors, in the crew quarters. Every single person on that ship was dead. Not a single survivor. Not even a sign that anyone had tried to escape. What struck the boarding party most wasn't the number of dead. It was the faces. Every man had the same expression. Eyes wide, mouth open, arms raised. As if, in their final moment, they all saw the exact same thing, and it destroyed them. There was a dog on board, a small terrier, the ship's mascot. They found it on the deck, dead like the rest. Its lips were pulled back. Its eyes were wide. It had died in the same state of absolute terror as every man on that ship. One detail that no one could explain, despite the tropical heat, despite the fact that it was over 30 degrees on deck, the boarding party reported that the interior of the ship was ice cold, unnaturally cold, the kind of cold that makes your breath fog in the air. The boarding party decided to tow the Ourang Medan back to port. They attached the lines, and then smoke began rising from the lower decks. Nobody had seen any fire. Nobody had smelled anything burning. But within minutes, the smoke was pouring out. The Silver Star crew cut the tow lines and pulled back. They barely made it, because seconds later, the Ourang Medan exploded. A massive blast that sent debris flying across the water. And then she was gone, swallowed by the sea. The explosion was so powerful that witnesses said the ship seemed to leap out of the water before breaking apart. Not the kind of explosion you get from a boiler failure. Something in that cargo hold had ignited. Something volatile. Something that was never supposed to be there. With the ship gone, so was the evidence. No bodies to examine, no cargo to inspect, no logbooks, no manifest. No way to confirm who was on board, where they came from, or what killed them. The sea took everything. Here's where the story gets stranger. Investigators went looking for the Ourang Medan in the official records. Lloyd's of London, the most comprehensive shipping registry in the world. Dutch Maritime archives, port records across Southeast Asia. Nothing. The ship did not exist. No registration, no port of origin, no record of a crew. Lloyd's of London, an organization that tracked virtually every vessel sailing the world's oceans, had never heard of the Ourang Medan. Think about what that means. Either someone went to extraordinary lengths to erase this ship from history, or the entire event was fabricated. But then how do you explain the Silver Star crew? How do you explain the men who boarded that ship and saw the bodies with their own eyes? Over the decades, 3 main theories have emerged to explain what happened on the Ourang Medan. Each one is disturbing in its own way, and none of them can be fully ruled out. Theory 1. Carbon monoxide poisoning. The ship's boilers were old and poorly maintained. A slow leak of carbon monoxide into the lower decks could have silently killed the crew, without any visible symptoms, without any struggle. Carbon monoxide is odorless, invisible, and in high enough concentrations, it kills within minutes. But here's the problem. Carbon monoxide doesn't make people scream. It doesn't freeze their faces in terror. Victims of CO poisoning simply go to sleep. They don't die with their arms raised and their eyes wide open. Theory 2. Illegal chemical weapons. This is where the missing records start to make sense. In 1947, the black market for leftover World War II weapons was thriving. Nerve agents, mustard gas, substances so dangerous that even transporting them was a death sentence if something went wrong. Some researchers believe the Ourang Medan was secretly transporting potassium cyanide and nitroglycerine, substances that, if the containers were damaged or began leaking, would release gases capable of killing an entire crew within minutes. Gases that cause exactly the kind of death the boarding party described, and gases that, combined with seawater, could cause a catastrophic explosion. That would explain the fire, the blast, and why there was nothing left to investigate. Theory 3 is the one that keeps people up at night. What if it wasn't gas? What if it wasn't a technical failure? What if something else entirely killed the crew of the Ourang Medan? Something that left no physical trace, no scientific explanation, and no survivors to describe it. Infrasound. Sound waves at frequencies below human hearing, generated by storms, by shifting ocean pressure, by geological activity beneath the seafloor. At certain intensities, infrasound causes disorientation, panic, organ failure. It can make people feel an overwhelming sense of dread, of presence, of something watching them, and it leaves no trace. Some scientists have proposed mass hallucination, triggered by contaminated food, toxic fumes, or a neurological event. The faces of terror, the raised arms, the synchronized deaths, all consistent with a sudden, catastrophic breakdown of the nervous system. Painful, terrifying. And very, very fast. And then there's the geomagnetic theory. Sudden shifts in the Earth's magnetic field, caused by underwater seismic activity, have been shown to cause confusion, fear, and, in extreme cases, cardiac arrest. The Strait of Malacca sits in a seismically active zone. The right event, at the right moment, could have swept through that ship like a wave, killing everyone on board before they even understood what was happening. The truth is, we don't know. We will probably never know. The ship is gone. The bodies are gone. The records were either never created or deliberately destroyed. All we have are the testimonies of the men from the Silver Star, men who went to their graves insisting that what they saw was real. The Ourang Medan remains one of the most debated maritime mysteries in history, not because the story is unbelievable, but because it's too specific to be pure invention. The names, the coordinates, the radio signal, the physical descriptions of the dead. Someone knows what happened on that ship, and someone made very sure the world would never find out. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is about the stories that history tried to forget. Subscribe, and next week we go even deeper, because the ocean keeps its secrets, but we don't.